I just got back from the orthopedic doctor yesterday, and he gave me an all clear on being able to start working on the boat again. So I want to thank Dr. Mahoney at Northwest Orthopedics for taking such good care of me. So now that we can get back on the boat, I think this girl needs a set of seats. So let's go to the plans and see how to build some. So over here at the plans, there are 4 different views of the seats, and the first is here on sheet 6. We're looking 4 here, and here are the seats on the front bulkhead, the seat brackets. And then over on this one, we can see where we're looking aft, and there are the seat brackets here. The other views are here on sheet 5, and we can see the elevation of that seat. So the seats are this line that runs right across here. And then here in plan view, we can see that this is the seat that runs fore and aft. The next view we can see is also on sheet 5, and that shows here a section at midship where it shows this bracket right here that holds the seat in the center. Now, one of the challenges about boat building that I really enjoy is having a problem that you need to find a solution to. And so the trick here is finding the solution of this angle in reference to the hull. And in boat building, it's very hard because there really aren't a lot of right angles. So I think what I'm going to need to do is to establish some kind of a line across there that I can then measure that angle. So the way I'm going to do that is here on the plans where it shows those brackets on the front and back bulkheads. So if we look back here at sheet 6 that shows the front bulkhead, what I've done is I've established that the floor is level, so I drew a red line here, you can see on top of the floorboards. And then what I did is I drew a line here that is the angle that the seat will be, and that reads 5 degrees. So what I need to do now is to establish the distance from here to the top of that bracket, and using the 1.5 inch to a foot scale, you can see that that is 12 inches. So because the seats are parallel to the floor, that will be exactly the same on the back bulkheads as well. So what I need to do is to prepare these brackets that I can attach to both the fore and aft bulkheads. And it says here what size those need to be. So they are 3/4 inch by 1.25 inch oak seat supports. So the first order of business then is to prepare that stock and get those attached at that 5-degree angle on the front and aft bulkheads. So what I've done here is I've strung a couple of strings from the fore and aft seat supports in order to figure out what this angle was here in the center. So I made a template here that will measure that angle for me. So here on this frame, it will get screwed through the top into the frame, and it'll be flush with this. And then at the top of the bracket is equal to the bottom of the seat, which will sit here. And then it will get attached with screws going this direction. And then I just kind of got a general idea of what that curve should be. So now what I'm going to do is go over and work out a jig in order to make this seat bracket. So I have my template here, and I've decided, instead of trying to steam bend a piece of oak, what I would do is laminate a seat post. And the reason for that is the pieces of oak that I have don't look very stable. And what I mean by that is, in order to make a bend that severe with a piece of 3/4 inch oak, the grain really needs to be very, very straight. And looking through my stock, I just couldn't find anything that I knew was going to be successful steam bending. So what I've decided to do is to use some strips of Douglas fir to do that. So I've cut some strips here, and what I've discovered when I put my template down here is that instead of following that exact curve, when I bend it in here, what it does is it wants to make more of a parabolic curve in there. So I traced that out onto this base piece of board for my jig. So now what I'm going to do is put a piece of visqueen down like this, and then I've made some blocks here that I'm going to attach in these locations so that I can then take these strips that I have here. I ended up with 2, 4, 6, 8, about 7 strips here. So then these strips will go in there and bend like so, one piece at a time. So then I should be able to clamp that in there and epoxy it. So what I'm going to do next is to fasten all of these down. And first I'm going to take some shrink wrap here and wrap each one of these individual pieces with it so that they don't, the epoxy doesn't stick to it. So you can see that first attempt failed. These strips are flexible enough, and I was able to bend one of them in there by itself without any problem, but for some reason when I grouped them all together, they snapped on me. So what I've decided to do is to pre-bend them by steaming them a little bit. So the way I'm going to do that is just with a towel here and put a little water on there. And then just take this iron and press it. That right hand does not like me to clamp with it yet. All right, so anyway, I'm going to do these in a couple of batches so that I won't put all of them in there. I put 4 or 5 in at a time. And once they're all cooled down, then I'll glue them up. Well, after I got all of the seat posts shaped and installed, the plans then called for a seat post, or I should say a seat cleat that goes across midship. And that plans call for a 1-inch by 1-inch piece of oak. So I cut out a piece of that and installed it. And then it also called for a 1/2-inch piece of copper tubing to run diagonally in order to support that bracket fore and aft. So I made a piece of copper tubing up and got that installed. So now that I've got all of that done, what I've done is I've cut some really thin pieces of plywood here as templates, and then I've cut them in 2 pieces. like this, so that I'm going to make the seat in 2 pieces. And I then mark out where the plans say that the front and the back of the seat should be at each one of these cleats. So now what I'm going to do is to put a little finish nail at each station like this, and then use a batten to string on here like so to get that marked out. So then I'll have a couple of patterns so that I'll know how much walnut to glue up for the seats. Well, that's it for the seats. I have 2 coats of the TotalBoat Lust varnish on here right now, and my plan is to probably have 6 to 8 coats on it. My experiences on the transom and some of the combing, that the more coats, the sort of the deeper and richer that color gets. Now, I'm not going to fasten them down yet. I'll do that a little later. This way I can take them back out of the boat, and I'll probably leave them out of the boat while I'm finishing up a lot of the other things. At any rate, I'm pretty happy with the way they turned out, and next week I will continue to work on the boat and start working on some of the trim that needs to be finished up. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you the next time on The Art of Boat Building.